Once upon a time in a small town there lived a young man named Rohan. He was intelligent, full of ideas, and had big dreams. But Rohan had one problem. He always overthought everything. He wanted everything to be perfect before taking action, and because of that, he rarely started anything. One day, Rohan met his old school friend Karen, who had started a successful business. Curious, Rohan asked, "How did you manage to build such a great business? Weren't you afraid of failing? Didn't you worry about making mistakes?" Karen smiled and replied, "Of course I was scared. I didn't know everything when I started, but instead of waiting for the perfect time, I took the first step and learned along the way." Rohan thought about this for days. He had always wanted to start his own business, but every time he planned, doubts would fill his mind. What if I fail? What if I don't know enough? What if people laugh at me? These thoughts kept stopping him from taking action. One evening, Rohan went to an old wise man in the village for advice. He told the wise man about his fears and his habit of overthinking. The wise man listened patiently and then gave Rohan a small empty pot and a handful of seeds. "Take this," he said, "and plant these seeds in the pot. But there's one rule. You must not start until you are completely sure that the conditions are perfect. The soil must be perfect, the weather must be perfect, and you must know everything about growing plants." Rohan nodded and took the pot home. He placed it on his table and began researching the best type of soil, the right amount of water, and the perfect temperature for growing plants. He read books and watched videos, but every time he was about to plant the seeds, he found another reason to wait. Maybe I should get better soil. Maybe I should wait for the right season. Maybe I should learn more about gardening first. Weeks passed, then months. The pot remained empty. One day the wise man visited Rohan. He looked at the empty pot and asked, "Why haven't you planted the seeds?" Rohan sighed and said, "I was waiting for the perfect conditions. I wanted to make sure I did it the right way." The wise man smiled and said, "Look outside." Rohan looked out the window and saw a small plant growing from a crack in the ground. The wise man continued, "That plant didn't wait for perfect conditions. It didn't wait for the best soil or the right amount of water. It simply grew, because that is what seeds are meant to do." Rohan understood the lesson. He had wasted so much time overthinking that he never even planted the seeds. That night, he finally put the seeds in the pot. The next morning, he woke up feeling lighter and happier. He had taken action. Inspired by this lesson, Rohan decided to apply it to his dream of starting a business. Instead of waiting for the perfect plan, he started with what he knew. He made mistakes along the way, but he learned from them. Slowly, his business grew, just like the plants in his pot. However, the journey wasn't always smooth. There were times when his ideas didn't work, and he faced criticism from others. But instead of doubting himself like before, Rohan reminded himself of the wise man's lesson. Even the strongest trees start as tiny seeds. They grow through storms and challenges, but they keep growing. One day, a young girl from the village came to Rohan for advice. She was passionate about painting but hesitated to showcase her work. "I don't think my art is good enough yet," she said. "I want to improve first before I show it to anyone." Rohan smiled and handed her a small pot and some seeds. "Plant these," he said, "and don't wait for the perfect moment." Confused, the girl took the pot home. Days later, she came back with excitement in her eyes. "I planted the seeds, and I also painted my first artwork for others to see," she said. "It wasn't perfect, but I felt so happy doing it." Rohan patted her shoulder and said, "That's how growth works. You don't wait for perfection, you take action, and you improve along the way." Years later, Rohan became a successful businessman. His story spread across the town, inspiring countless people to stop overthinking and start taking action. Whenever he met someone struggling with doubts, he would give them a small pot and some seeds and tell them, "Stop waiting for perfection, just plant the seeds." Moral of the story: overthinking keeps you stuck, but action moves you forward. There is no perfect time to start. Just start, and you will learn along the way. Mistakes are part of the journey, and waiting for perfection only delays success. Remember, action beats perfection every time. Life rewards those who take the first step. Thanks for watching. Remember, one story can change your life. Subscribe for more wisdom. Book Sparkle.